Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
Backstage, again, because I'm used to, they really treat me like scum. I'm not going to say anything like, oh, please. I asked for a glass of water, they go, here. I mean, New York, I've been in New York, and the stewardesses look good.
Did they start on you again?
Oh, the lowest. I said to a stewardess, where's my seat? This is the opener. 3 inches below where it was last year. I mean, you know what it is? They don't wear underwear. That's the whole trick. Oh, grow up.
Really?
Grow up.
No underwear? I don't know.
You sit by the window, you see the earth. You sit by the aisle, you see the moon. There is no... I would have another child, but... Because I want a child.
Oh, that's nice.
Melissa was born, and I love Melissa. I was not wanted, and I think that's what screwed me up.
But now you keep saying that you weren't wanted. Now, how do you know you weren't wanted?
I think my mother tried to have an abortion. She never said so, but I was born with a hanger in my ear, and that gets you... Can you imagine if your mother was Joan Crawford? She'd throw you out.
You look like a closet, yeah.
Good morning. It's Friday, Parenting Friday, October the 10th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and the collapse of parenting. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now, Maria, then Stu.
Welcome back. We are 30 minutes away from the opening bell for the week. Take a look at markets, which are trading higher once again. Dow Industrials up 65, S&P and NASDAQ also higher. We just mentioned Tel Aviv. Stocks in Israel are up 37% year to date. The Tel Aviv index up 37%. Investors have been betting on Israel as President Trump puts his 20-point plan in place, and now all eyes are on Hamas. The clock is ticking for them to release all of the hostages within the next 72 hours. Todd Pyro, John Lonsky, great to be with you. I'll see you tonight on Marie Bartiromo's Wall Street, and have a great weekend, everybody. Varney and Company picks it up. Ashley Webster in for Stu this morning. Ashley, take it away.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Ashley Webster in for Stu Varney today. Let's get right to it. The government shutdown enters day 10 and counting. No end in sight, apparently. The Senate is now adjourned until Tuesday. Well, what does all of this mean for the U.S. economy? We'll get into it. Meanwhile, Hamas is set to release all of the remaining hostages in Gaza under the first phase of President Trump's peace deal. Trump says the hostages could be coming home as soon as Monday. We'll keep tabs on that. Taking a look at the markets before we get going for real in about half an hour. The futures this morning showing we're all on the upside, modestly so, but green across the screen. The Dow up 77 points. The NASDAQ and the S&P also up slightly. Take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield if we can. We like to keep tabs on it. Ever so slightly lower at 4.10%. Meanwhile, the 2-year at 3.58%, again, essentially flat. What about gold? So much being said about gold. Up $29, nearly $30 at 4,000, a 4,000 level, not too shabby for gold. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, which has also been up there, has it not? 125,000 right now, up slightly at 121,670. Also happening today, Donald Trump is heading to Walter Reed for his semi-annual physical. President Trump says he feels like he's in great shape. Guess we'll find out. California gubernatorial candidate Katie Porter is now apologizing for the video where she tries to storm out of an interview, but her apology seems awfully familiar. We'll explain that. Yes, it is Friday, October the 10th, and Varney and Company is about to begin.
And that was Ashley Webster because Stewart is taking a 3-day weekend. Wow, he works so hard. He needs that 3-day weekend to go home and count his millions. Nonprofit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, ridiculous Australian words.
Ridiculous Australian words. Speed round.
Vacation.
Holiday.
Adidas.
Adidas.
Peppers.
Capsicum.
French fries.
Chips.
Potato crisps.
Chips.
Boxed wine.
Goon.
Suspicious.
Iffy.
Redhead.
Ranger.
Full.
Chockers.
Complain.
Whinge.
Liquor store.
Bottle-o.
Redneck.
Bogan.
Television.
Telly.
Sweatpants.
Tracky dacks.
Eraser.
Rubber.
Pacifier.
Dummy.
Diaper.
Nappy.
Caramel.
Caramel.
Jello.
Jelly.
Jelly.
Jam.
Hot dog stand.
Sausage sizzle. Ridiculous Australian.
There you go. The ridiculous Australian words. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Dr. Berg.
So recently I had a question about sleep apnea. What causes it and what can you do about it? So this is a condition which really affects someone's sleep. You see this a lot in diabetics. Is there a connection? Yes, there is. So when you have high glucose, high blood sugar, it depletes vitamin B1. That's thiamine. Because vitamin B1 is essential in maintaining normal function of your brainstem, especially the breathing centers, which connect to a nerve called the phrenic nerve, which comes down from the brainstem and goes right to the diaphragm. So the entire diaphragm, the motor control, the function of the movement of the diaphragm is controlled by this one nerve. So if that nerve is cut, you're not going to be able to breathe. So what happens, this part of the nervous system is under what's called autonomic nervous system function. Now, the autonomic nervous system works on automatic, but you can also influence it too. So right now, I can stop breathing if I want. And then if I forget to breathe, that autonomic nervous system will kick in there and breathe for me. When I'm sleeping, that system actually breathes for me, so I don't have to think about it. So here's the thing. So when your spouse is, let's say, snoring, and all of a sudden you hear them stop breathing for a period of time, that's sleep apnea. That's definitely involving these breathing centers right here. So it's really the high sugar, okay, which depletes vitamin B1, which then you lose the function of the breathing centers. I mean, if you take a look at other symptoms of low vitamin B1, you have lactic acidosis. That basically is a situation where your pH becomes slightly more acidic and you'll have problems breathing just from that alone. Or there's another condition called dyspnea, which is basically difficulty breathing. It's related to something called beriberi. What is that? That's a vitamin B1 deficiency. But people could have a moderate or a subclinical deficiency that might not show up on a blood test, but it's just gradually going into a major deficiency. Also, there's another condition called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, okay, where this infant just stops breathing for no reason. Well, that also is related to a severe B1 deficiency in an infant, which basically affects the breathing centers. Again, a lot of this information you can find when you study beriberi, or look at the relationship between vitamin B1 deficiency and SIDS. You'll find a lot of interesting research. So that's why it's very important to make sure that the infant is breastfed, or if you're getting a formula, that it has enough B1 and other nutrients, because some of these formulas are just pure sugar, void of a lot of good nutrition. Anyway, I just wanted to point out that if you have sleep apnea, you may want to start taking vitamin B1, and in addition to that, take nutritional yeast, because that will also support and prevent any other deficiencies from higher levels of vitamin B1. All right, thanks for watching.
And that was Dr. Berg. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little motivation.
Every champion has felt it. Every king has felt it. Every winner has felt it. Every soldier has felt it. Every victorious person has felt it. The urge to quit.
See, in your life, everybody has a turn back moment. You have a moment where you can go forward or you can give up. But the thing you have to keep in mind before you give up is that if you give up, the guarantee is it will never happen. No way under the sun. The only way the possibility remains that it can happen is if you never give up no matter what.
Don't you give up on your dream. I don't care if you don't have the money, you don't have the help, and you don't have the background for it, and you don't have the friends for it. Don't you give up on your dream. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. It may take you twice as long. You may have to take courses and classes. You might not read as fast. You might not move as quick. You might not have as much. But don't you quit.
A person's character is not judged when they ride the wave of success, when everyone chants their name and you want to be their friend. No, your character is put to the test when your back is against the wall.
I want the guy who struggled. I want the guy that failed and could still get back up again. Your problem is your pain has identified you. Your pain has weakened you. And some of you, as long as it's a perfect day, you operate in excellence. But as soon as the circumstances change, you quit and you give up. So what makes E.T. different than everybody else? Every year I just kept going. And I kept going. And I kept going. And I kept saying, one day gonna be my day. But you know what I'm not gonna do? I'm not gonna quit in the process. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give in.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do in these days of darkness? What you gonna create? You gonna sit there and whine and cry, or you gonna use the creative powers, the creative juice your God gave you?
Don't expect people to understand you. Don't expect it to make sense to anybody why you've got to do this, why you have got to go, why you leave. This is a good job. I'm going. They pay you well. I'm going. Why? I don't understand. You don't have to. I'm going for me because I've made a different kind of commitment with my life. This is something I have got to do.
It's not what they say about you that matters. It is what you say about you that threatens your destiny. You will never be defeated by what they say about you. You will be defeated by what you say about you.
They say, what are you doing, man? You're out of your mind. I don't understand what you're doing all this for. You know, it doesn't make any sense. But the person inside believes it. What do they say? I don't care what they think. I understand it. Of course, I believe it.
Stay the course. Give yourself a reason to wake up. Stay the course. Give yourself a reason to get dressed.
No matter how impossible your situation may seem, stay on course. I guarantee you cannot pass it if you quit. I guarantee you're going to fail, but you don't know what's going to happen if you keep going.
Will you stay the course? Before life is over, you got to go through everything. You got to speak to yourself. You got to stand up or life will tear you down. You got to make up in your mind. It's tougher than I thought it was going to be, and it hurts more than I expected, but I'm going to keep on hopping till I cross the line.
This is what you do. You are built for this. You would just believe that your day coming, that the sacrifices you are making today, they gonna pay off. But if you do not believe, it ain't gonna happen.
Thank you. Now, a little meditation.
Welcome, dear soul. You've arrived at the perfect moment to reconnect with calm. Today's practice is designed to gently activate your vagus nerve, a hidden pathway in your body that holds the key to deep relaxation and emotional balance. The vagus nerve runs from your brainstem down to your abdomen. It's your body's natural reset button, regulating your heart, lungs, digestion, and even your mood. When we activate it intentionally, we shift out of the stress response and into peace, presence, and healing. It matters for stress and anxiety. When we feel anxious, our nervous system enters fight or flight mode. The heart races, the breath shortens, the mind spins. But the vagus nerve, it works like a soft switch, bringing us back into rest and digest. This is your parasympathetic nervous system, and your vagus nerve is the bridge. A strong vagal tone means a resilient nervous system, and you can build it, just like a muscle, starting right now. Let's begin. Sit or lie down comfortably. Close your eyes if you feel ready. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose and exhale gently through your mouth. Let's do that again. Inhale deeply and exhale, allowing your body to soften. Now, place one hand over your heart and one hand on your belly. Feel the rhythm of your breath, your pulse, your presence. As you inhale, silently say, I am safe. As you exhale, silently say, I let go. Now, gently hum. Just a soft, low on your exhale. Let your lips vibrate gently. This vibration stimulates your vagus nerve, soothing your system from the inside out. Inhale and exhale with a soft hum. Good. Let's do one more. Inhale deeply. Exhale with a hum. Feel the warmth. Feel the calm. This is your nervous system relaxing. This is you returning home to yourself. Take one final deep breath in and a soft, steady exhale out. You've just activated something ancient, powerful, and beautifully yours. Carry this calm with you into your day or into a peaceful night's sleep. You're supported, you're safe, and your healing has already begun. Thank you for sharing this moment. See you in the next meditation.
And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. So I had an acquaintance of mine today that was trying to demoralize me as a true conservative. He's doing it by quoting Governor Pritzker. There was some kind of an incident in Chicago today, and supposedly Pritzker said something about Trump. I wasn't paying attention. I don't care. I don't care. Anytime I know somebody is quoting Governor Pritzker or Newsom or somebody like that, that their only purpose is to make me feel bad, is to demoralize me as a true conservative. I don't let them get away with it. This guy says, well, yeah, Governor Pritzker says blah, blah, blah. I said, no, he didn't. And he stares at me for a few seconds, and he says, well, yes, he did. Well, no, he didn't. Well, it's on social media. And I said, no, it isn't. I said, you have a nice day, and walked away. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay. These are people that are not acting in good faith. They want to play it Deuces Wild. I'm going to play it Deuces Wild too. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, the collapse of parenting.
Chapter 7, Fragile. I had the privilege of visiting an outdoor kindergarten in Oberammergau in the Bavarian Alps. What was most striking to me was the attitude toward risk and danger, which my hosts and other Germans told me was common throughout Germany. I saw 4-year-old girls and boys using sharp knives to whittle sticks they found in the woods. 4- and 5-year-old children climbed tall trees without a harness or safety gear and without help from a grown-up. On this trip, and on my previous trips to schools in Germany and in German-speaking Switzerland, I found the general attitude toward risk to be profoundly different from the culture of safetyism, which is now so prevalent in the United States. I borrow the term safetyism from the book The Coddling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt. They describe how many American schools now prohibit any activity which might conceivably result in any injury to any child. The defining rule of safetyism: if any child might get hurt, then no child is allowed to participate. American parents follow suit. 4-year-olds whittling sticks with sharp knives? Not happening. But researchers suggest that prohibiting children from engaging in risky play and repeatedly warning kids about the bad things that might happen if they do anything remotely dangerous may actually increase kids' anxiety and cause kids to become more fragile. Kids who have never climbed a tree or whittled a stick with a knife and who constantly hear warnings about the dangers inherent in everyday life may be more likely to become anxious, sometimes without even knowing why they are anxious. As a family doctor, I have seen how easily young kids can get injured when they play with sharp knives or climb trees. I molded a fiberglass cast to my daughter's right wrist when she broke it after falling from the top of a 9-foot jungle gym at 8 years of age. But it's not the end of the world if your kid cuts her finger with a knife or scrapes her knee on tree bark or breaks her wrist. The great majority of such injuries are easily treated, and the child is stronger for the experience. To quote another German, "Was mich nicht umbringt, macht mich stärker." What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Of course, one of our prime responsibilities as parents is to keep our kids safe. If your toddler is waddling toward a busy street, you stop them. But be mindful in other situations where the trade-off between risk and benefit is more nuanced. When you are tempted to say, "Don't do that, you might get hurt," pause for a moment. Remember that if kids continually hear, "Don't do that, you might get hurt," the result may be kids who are risk-averse, fearful of the world around them, and fragile. I earned my medical degree way back in 1986. For most of my career as a family doctor, most parents were okay if their kids scraped their knee or sprained their ankle on the school playground. But today, if a kid sustains a minor injury at school or on the playground, parents now often swoop in like attorneys, demanding to know how the school could be so negligent. "I'm not paying all this money on a private school for my kid to come home injured," one mother told me as I examined her 11-year-old daughter's sprained ankle. I paused, took a breath, and looked Mom directly in the eye. "If your daughter gets through elementary school without a sprained ankle or a scraped knee," I said, "that's a deprived childhood. These are the kinds of experiences kids need to become strong. Without them, kids are fragile." "So, what led you to suggest that Aaron should try playing football?" I asked Aaron's father, Steve. "Actually, it was the nurse practitioner at the pediatrician's office who first brought it up. She showed us how his weight percentile was climbing, but his height percentile wasn't changing. I remember I asked her, "What are you trying to tell us?" And she said, "Aaron is overweight." She didn't mention football per se. She just said that Aaron needed to be more active, and she suggested after-school sports. Football was my idea. I played football all through middle school and high school, and it helped me get into shape. It helped me to get strong. So that's where I was coming from. You mentioned that Aaron has always had a talent for video games. How old was Aaron when you first realized that? I asked. Pretty young, Steve said. I remember. Aaron was 6 years old. We were playing Madden NFL football. You know that game? I nodded. Aaron beat me by some crazy score. I think the final score was 62-7. He had 62 points. You had 7, I asked. Yep, I was pathetic. I didn't play video games much with him after that, Steve said. I just wasn't in his league. Plus, I never really saw the point. I'd rather go outside and throw a football around, an actual football. So, what happened last fall? I asked. I had been nagging Aaron for years about playing football, but he always ignored me. Then some of his friends, guys he played video games with, announced that they were going to try out for the JV team at school. That's the first time that Aaron showed any interest in playing the game. So he and I went to the park, and we threw the ball around, did some blocking. I told him that he had potential. I wasn't lying. He's got a few extra pounds on board, but that's not a bad thing if you're playing the line. I told him how the left tackle position is one of the highest paid positions in the NFL. You can actually earn millions of dollars a year being a big guy, as long as you're strong and you're fast and you don't mind taking a hit. He thought that was pretty interesting. What happened last fall? I repeated. Aaron was pretty cocky when he went to the tryouts. He thought that being master of Madden NFL football would give him an advantage. But the coach said he wanted to get a sense of who was in shape and who wasn't. So he had them do some sprints. Then he made everyone run a mile, and every boy was timed. Aaron's times in the sprints were terrible, and he took nearly 12 minutes to run a mile. 1 mile! He told me the coach said, "Son, I have no idea whether you're going to be able to play this game or not. You're out of shape. I expect to see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. with the other kids who are out of shape. You'll run another mile around the track, then we'll go to the weight room." What happened? Did Aaron go back the next morning? I asked. Nope. He never went back, period. That was his first and last foray into any kind of after-school sport. He said, "I'm not a jock. I'll never be a jock. I don't want to be a jock. I'm a gamer." I told him that you can be both an athlete and a gamer. I reminded him that lots of men who play in the NFL are big-time gamers as well. But he wasn't interested. He just retreated into his bedroom, closed the door, and kept on playing the games. So what's going on now? I asked. He's just playing more and more. When I asked him what he wants to do with his life, he says he wants to be a professional gamer. He talks about these guys who are earning $100,000 a month or more playing video games. And you say? What can I say? Steve said. Maybe that's his passion. That's what he says he really wants. Who am I to tell him he should go after his dream? I just want him to be happy. Julia always had a competitive streak. She always wanted to be number one in her class. She may have inherited some of that drive from her parents. Her mother is an investment banker, and her father is a surgeon. In any case, her parents were proud of the academic honors she earned beginning in elementary school. She was attending the top independent school in the city, a school which routinely sends graduates to the most selective colleges, and she was number one in her class at that school, on track to be valedictorian. She was already taking AP courses in 9th grade and earning A's in every one, as well as 5s on the advanced placement examinations with an occasional 4. When she started 11th grade, she decided to sign up for AP Physics, a course that students at her school usually took in 12th grade. But Julia was already thinking of an independent study program for 12th grade to do an engineering project at the university. She had decided on her own that taking AP Physics in 11th grade would be just the thing to impress the various people who would have to approve her program. She had to get special permission to take AP Physics as a junior. She obtained that permission. She has always been at the top, or very near the top academically, her mom, Jennifer, told me. But that was just marginal superiority. She was earning a 99 when the other kids were earning a 97. She wanted to do something that would catapult her into another league altogether. She wanted something that would set her apart from the rest, not only in the eyes of college admission officers, but in her own eyes. So that's where the idea for the senior year engineering project came from. What happened? AP Physics was just way harder than she expected it to be. She had never really had any serious difficulty in school before. Everything always came easily to her. Physics was the first subject where she just didn't understand the concepts the first time around. When did she realize there might be a problem? I asked. The first quiz, Jennifer answered. Prior to that, I think Julia had some notion that maybe everything would be okay. She would be top of the class like always. She was studying really hard. The first quiz destroyed that notion. She got one of the lowest scores in the class, a 74. The teacher met with her afterward and told her it wasn't too late to drop the class. What happened? I asked. It was the first week of October. I came home from work. She was in the bedroom with her door closed, which is unusual. Usually she leaves her door open. I went to the bedroom door and I was about to knock when I heard something I never heard before. Sobbing. I had not heard her cry like that since she was a toddler. Convulsing, gasping sobs. What did you do? I rushed into the room without knocking. She was on the bed, face down, crying into her pillow. Can you imagine what went through my mind? I didn't know anything about the physics exam. My first thought, to be honest, was that she had been sexually assaulted, that someone had victimized her. Because I thought, what else could cause her to be so incredibly upset? So I asked her, are you okay? What happened? What did she tell you? It wasn't easy for her to get the words out, but she managed to explain that she had gotten a low score on the quiz. To be honest, I had to put my hand over my mouth to keep from laughing. I was so relieved. Here I thought she had been the victim of some awful crime, and it was just a low mark on a quiz. But finally I said, oh, honey, that's terrible. You must feel so bad. I understand. What happened next? I tried to reassure her. I said that we could hire a tutor to help her. She said she didn't want a tutor. It took me a few days to understand why this was such a big deal. If she couldn't ace physics, then she wouldn't be able to do her big engineering project as a senior, or at least not the way she had planned. She was discovering maybe she wasn't as amazing a student as she thought she was. So it was pretty wrenching for her. When did she start taking medication? Things just snowballed. I thought that she would come to her senses and put things in perspective. We did get a tutor for her, and I think the tutor was helpful. Her score on the next quiz was a 79. Still not great, but better. She could still pass the course. But I'll get a C, she wailed. There are worse things in life than getting a C in physics, I said. You don't understand, she said. And the crying spells continued, except now she told me to get out of her bedroom. She didn't want me to try to comfort her. That's when I took her to see the pediatrician. He prescribed Lexapro 10 milligrams. He said we should try it, maybe it would help. Did it help? A little. Eventually she was able to talk about how she was feeling without bursting into tears. She was able to explain how humiliating it was for her to be near the bottom of the class. But by Thanksgiving, she seemed to be slipping back, more withdrawn, moody all the time. So we decided to take her to the psychiatrist. Actually, the pediatrician suggested it. What did the psychiatrist say? The psychiatrist spent only a few minutes with us. I was hoping for a more thorough evaluation, but he didn't seem to think it was necessary. We had been squeezed in because they didn't have a regular appointment for weeks. He recommended adding Risperdal. He said that when an SSRI like Lexapro doesn't work, he likes to add Risperdal on top of the Lexapro. I looked it up online, and I just freaked out when I read the side effects of Risperdal. Weight gain, diabetes. That's why I decided to come see you for a second opinion. I read online that you are really skeptical about some of those medications. Jean Twenge, a professor at San Diego State University, who studies how the generations have changed over time, reports that many college faculty and staff report a noticeable fragility among today's students. Some describe them as teacups, beautiful, but liable to break with the slightest drop. I can tell you more stories similar to Aaron's story and Julia's story, stories which have been related to me by parents, or which I have observed firsthand in my role as a family physician. The common thread which connects the story of Aaron, the out-of-shape gamer, to Julia, the would-be engineer, is fragility. When Aaron came home from the tryout, why didn't he take up the coach's challenge to return, to try harder? When Julia discovered that she wasn't as smart as she thought she was, why did she collapse? My answer in both these cases is that these kids are fragile. It doesn't take much for them to give up and retreat as Aaron did, or to fall apart completely as Julia did. Fragility has become a characteristic of American children and teenagers to an extent unknown 30 years ago. That's what I'm seeing in the office today, and what I did not see in the office 30 years ago. But besides my observations and experience as a family doctor over the past 3 decades, several lines of evidence support my claim that young Americans today are more fragile in comparison with young Americans 20 or 30 years ago. The first and most obvious evidence is the extraordinary and continuing rise in the proportion of young Americans who are diagnosed and treated today for anxiety and depression, which we have already discussed. That line of evidence is relevant in Julia's case, since 2 physicians, a pediatrician and a psychiatrist, treated her with prescription medication for depression. But that line of evidence doesn't pertain in Aaron's case. Nobody has diagnosed Aaron with anything. In fact, Aaron's a pretty happy guy, as long as you don't interrupt him while he's playing his video game. But Aaron and Julia do share something in common. In each case, something inside seems to be missing, some inner strength and resilience, which we took for granted in young people a few decades back, but which just didn't develop in these 2. How can we quantify that? Can it be measured in statistics? Maybe it can. In Aaron's story, the end result is a young man who has retreated from the real world into his bedroom in order to play video games. I have seen the same process in young adults, more often young men than young women, who come home from college or drop out of college to retreat into the bedroom with a computer screen or a video game. That's an increasingly common pathway I have observed in 20-somethings, young people whose dreams don't come true, who then give up, retreat, and return home to live with their parents, or, if their parents have the means, live separately from their parents, but remain supported by their parents. The phenomenon of young, able-bodied adults not working and not looking for work is becoming much more common in the United States. As recently as 2000, it was rare in this country compared to other countries. In the year 2000, young Americans led the world in the proportion of young people who were creating new businesses and who were either working or looking for work, ahead of countries such as Sweden, Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Australia, and Poland. But today, the United States ranks last among the countries just mentioned. Here's the listing from the year 2000, with each nation ranked ordered according to the proportion of young people 25 to 34 years of age who were either gainfully employed or actively looking for work, from highest to lowest. 1, United States. 2, Sweden. 3, Canada. 4, United Kingdom. 5, Germany. 6, France. 7, Australia. 8, Poland.
And that was the first part of Chapter 7, Fragile, from The Collapse of Parenting by Leonard Sachs, MD, PhD, How We Hurt Our Kids When We Treat Them Like Grown-Ups. And you know that these two students are raised by liberals. In a conservative household, this wouldn't be happening. There'd be no such thing as I'm not going to play football anymore. The parents would say, yes, you are. You're getting back out there and you're going to do it. Because the kids don't run the household. And then the girl that is crying her eyes out, again, the parents are going to take a tougher approach. Well, you're going to need to snap out of it. Yes, it's embarrassing. Yes, you scored low, but you have to get over it and get on with your life. Now, the other thing is when he's talking about the parent that took their daughter immediately to the pediatrician. When I was growing up, that wasn't done. What you would do if you didn't understand what your child was doing, there was something they were doing that was alarming to you, you went to your parents, the child's grandparents, and talked to them. That's what you should always do. That should be your first stop as a parent, is to visit your parents and say, hey, Timmy's having some problems here. Because what you may hear from your parents is, you used to be the same way, but you outgrew it. Phew! Not as big a deal as you thought it was going to be, right? Timmy's going to outgrow it. So you don't need to go to the pediatrician and have him put on medication, then go to a psychiatrist and have him put on more medication. No. Okay, again, medication in childhood should be reserved for kids that are psychotic. If Timmy is pulling the wings off of flies, torturing small animals, setting fires, that's a time to get him to the pediatrician, psychiatrist as fast as you can. No doubt about that. But for this kind of thing, you simply tell the child, football, you signed up for football, you're going to finish. That was what I was told. When I said I wanted to sign up for this, and my parents would say, that's fine, but once you sign up for it, you're going to finish it. And if I come home, I want to quit, they say, nope, you signed up for it, you're going to see it through. And they would force me to finish it. And it was much to my benefit. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative of the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that determinism is a choice.